Hello, welcome to the Bullish Bears analysis, and today I'm going to be talking about SoFi. I've actually seen quite a lot of sentiment recently regarding the stock, especially after Palantir's rapid growth rate within the last week skyrocketed. So I've decided to pursue my own analysis on the stock, weighing up the pros and cons. Firstly, why has the stock price really dipped? As you can see in the past week, the stock is down 5.8%, and within 3 months within the month, it's kind of stagnated at only 2.41%. So the first reason for a massive dip, as you can see on the 27th, was the earnings report, with management actually missing their EBITDA guidance by 10% and their EPS guidance by 0.02%. So as a result, this has meant that consumer sentiment has now reached an all-time low, with the Twitter sentiment being bearish at around 48%. So I just think the data shows that people are becoming anxious about the stock, and it's mainly due to the high expectations Palantir has set. As I said earlier, if I go to Palantir here, within the last week it's done 35%, and within the month it's done nearly 62%. So people just feel like they need to 100% gains within a week, which just isn't realistic expectation. Like, not every stock can be Palantir, so people just, in my opinion, do need to latch onto the idea of investing in a company which can provide some long-term sustainable growth. With this bearish sentiment, there has also been a question arising about the tech platform, and to be frank, the tech platform hasn't really seen been a meaningful part of the business for quite a while now. As you can see here, the main drivers are financial services and lending in terms of growth profit. So even though SoFi has invested $1.2 billion into Galileo, for example, the returns from that investment will start to trickle down into revenue or profit after at least 5 years, in my opinion, or even a decade. So you do really need to take a long-term stance on this stock. But going on the flip side, there are actually some positives, with website visits being up 20% from last month, reaching a record 19.5 million, the highest it's ever been. So it does show that there is a lot of interest in the consumer base, and this can also be correlated with an exponential increase in membership growth. As you can see here, in December 2018, there were 652,000 SoFi members, and now that number is nearing to 10 million. And the growth rate has actually been quite steady, and it hasn't plateaued yet. So tracking back to earnings, if I go back to earnings, look, all is not doom and gloom. Across the board, the management team have managed to, beat estimates, whether that be revenue or EPS estimates or member estimates. So even though the EBITDA targets have been missed, I just think that the management are probably being more conservative and taking a more conservative stance so that they can under promise and over deliver. With, a stock such as AMD, for example, if I just go back to AMD, as you can see here with the overview, in Q4 of 2023, they were overpromising, and that did mean that the stock did rise in the short term, as you can see with a high of about 200. But then they did end up under-delivering for quite a few quarters after that, and just so that as a result, the stock just crashed. And now, in their last earnings, the stock did do decently well, but the sentiment has just become so bearish that consumers just aren't willing to take a chance. So I think that's it's a good reason that SoFi management are being quite conservative. So you just shouldn't really be worrying about it in the first place. So you should just have faith in management as they are positioning SoFi for the long term. And there's actually a good quote I read the other day. Look at this, revenue estimates. They are projected to increase to 4.5 billion in 2027. with a quote from management saying, "After a year of bolstering the capital base, reaching GAAP profitability and the scale required to drive continued profitability, management wants to better tilt the incremental revenue growth towards investment." So overall, the pros. Major institutional funds have been seeing this trend with, and they do believe, it just shows, look, Amundi increased their share in ownership by 58,000%, and BlackRock also increased their SoFi shares by 4%. So it does show if institutional investors believe in the long-term growth of SoFi, then why shouldn't you? They'll be laughing to the bank when the stock reaches $100 per share in 5-6 years. And you just sold out. So, don't be one of those people who in 5-6 years time come back and think, oh, I should have invested in SoFi, or oh, I should never have sold my shares. Because chances are you will regret it. And look, again, the highest ever website traffic. The stock has strong revenue numbers, strong membership growth. Yes, of course, okay, the cons are there are lower consumer sentiment. But I just feel like recently the stock market has just been running off vibes rather than actual metrics or consumer data. So it's really up to you now what you decide. Look, I'll be honest, I do have a position in SoFi. I have about 500 shares. I can even show you if I go on to Trading 212 and I go to my stocks ISA, for example. You can see here my position is quite high. There you go, look. I have 497 shares at an average price of $14.91. So even I think the stock right now is undervalued at this stage, which is why I have bought in. So yeah, just to conclude, not every stock will be a Palantir or will have the growth rate like Palantir does. And I will do a video soon about how I think Palantir is overrated. But look, if I go into the social events here, you can just see people are quite reactive at the moment. I just feel like you need to calm your nerves down in the meantime and just think long term. Where will I be? Where will my money be in 5-10 years? And how happy will I be when I see those 100% returns, 200% returns, 300% returns? So thank you guys for listening, and I hope you take my advice on board. And if there is any criticism, I would love to hear your point of view in the comments, because there's no right or wrong. You can't predict the future. There is no magical crystal ball. It's all about analysis and your own personal view. So yeah, please subscribe, please give a like, and thank you so much for listening.